Have you ever looked at your life and quietly thought, God, I'm not qualified for this? Maybe you've made mistakes. Maybe people reminded you of your past. Maybe the doors you knocked on stayed closed so long that you started believing you weren't worthy to walk through them. But I came to tell somebody something powerful today. God does not promote you based on your resume. He promotes you based on your purpose. See, people check your qualifications. People check your background. People check your experience. But God checks your heart. God doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. This idea is a cornerstone of understanding how divine promotion works, and it flips the way we think about success and opportunity. In the natural world, we are trained to believe that achievement comes through credentials, experience, and preparation. People get jobs because they have degrees. Leaders rise because of years of practice. Recognition is earned because of skill, but God operates differently. His eyes are not on what you have done or how polished you appear. His eyes are on your heart, your willingness, and your faithfulness in small things. What this means is that God often calls people who feel completely unprepared, people who look at themselves and say, I don't have what it takes. And He chooses them precisely because they are teachable, humble, and dependent on Him, rather than relying solely on their own ability. Look at the story of David. He was the youngest of 8 brothers, a shepherd boy with no military training, no royal education, and no political influence. In the eyes of men, he was unqualified to face a giant, to lead a nation, or to step into the throne of Israel. Yet God saw something in him that the world couldn't see, a heart aligned with His purpose. God qualified David through experiences that seemed ordinary, even menial, like tending sheep, confronting lions, and developing courage in solitude. Each of these moments was a divine preparation, equipping him for a role far beyond what he could imagine. This same principle applies today. Just because you feel unprepared, inexperienced, or overlooked does not mean you are unchosen. Sometimes the very qualities that make you doubt yourself are exactly the ones God wants to use. Your patience, your resilience, your compassion, and even your scars become tools for your calling. God's method of promotion is not dependent on what people can validate. It is about aligning you with His plan, giving you strength in areas where you feel weak, and equipping you for assignments that surpass your natural qualifications. That is why when God lifts someone, it often surprises the world. People ask, how did they get there? Or why them? The answer is simple. God saw potential where others saw lack. The lesson is profound. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not be paralyzed by your doubts, your failures, or your lack of conventional experience. Trust that God is actively working to qualify you, even while you feel unqualified. When the right time comes, He will place you in positions, opportunities, and platforms that you never could have earned on your own, and your life will testify to the power of divine elevation. This is not luck, coincidence, or chance. It is God's intentional plan to lift the chosen, not the qualified, and in doing so, reveal His glory through your life. The doors that closed in your life were not meant to punish you. They were divine redirection, guiding you toward a destiny far greater than you could have planned for yourself. Often, we see rejection as a sign of failure or inadequacy. We feel overlooked when people pass us by, turned down when opportunities don't come through, and discouraged when our hard work seems to go unnoticed. But God has a different perspective. He sees the bigger picture, the road ahead that your eyes cannot yet perceive. Those moments of no are not denials. They are God's way of steering you away from what is temporary, limited, or even dangerous toward what is eternal, abundant, and life-changing. Think about Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. At each stage, it appeared to be rejection and failure. Yet every closed door was a step toward a throne he could never have reached through conventional means. God was redirecting him, preparing him for a purpose that required patience, character, and resilience. The timing had to be perfect, and the preparation necessary for his success could only happen through the circumstances that initially seemed unfair. Divine redirection often feels uncomfortable because it interrupts our plans. It challenges our pride and tests our faith. You might have had a vision for your life, a goal you believed was meant for you, only to see it blocked repeatedly. This is where faith becomes essential. You have to trust that God knows what He is doing, even when when the world is saying no. Closed doors are not the end of your story. They are the beginning of a chapter you could not have written for yourself. When God redirects you, he is positioning you in alignment with his purpose, not just giving you what you want. It is a reminder that his plans are bigger than yours, his timing is perfect, and his ways are higher than human understanding. Often what we perceive as rejection is actually a protective measure, keeping us from a path that would have been limiting or harmful. The key is to remain patient, stay faithful, and recognize that each detour is intentional. Divine redirection requires trust, humility, and a willingness to let go of control. When you begin to see your closed doors through this lens, disappointment turns into anticipation. You start to realize that God's no is actually a not yet and a wait for something greater. The beauty of this truth is that eventually the redirection leads you to opportunities that exceed your imagination, to rooms you never thought you would enter, and to blessings that surpass what you believed was possible. What seemed like rejection becomes a testimony of God's guidance, his timing, and his unshakable love for you. Hard work, dedication, and preparation are important, but there comes a point when God's grace takes you to places that effort alone could never reach. Grace is the unearned, undeserved favor of God, and it operates beyond human logic and limitations. While talent and skill can open doors, grace can push you through doors that are locked to everyone else, giving you influence, opportunity, and provision that surpass natural ability. Many people spend their lives striving, hustling, and proving themselves, only to feel stuck, overlooked, or undervalued. They measure success by visible results, external validation, or worldly qualifications. But God's elevation often works in a way that human effort cannot explain. Think of Mary, the mother of Jesus. She was young, ordinary, and seemingly unqualified to carry the Messiah. Yet by God's grace, she was chosen to fulfill a role that no one else could occupy. Grace empowered her to embrace a calling far beyond her personal capacity or preparation. In the same way, your grace-filled moment may feel unexpected or even impossible. It may come as a promotion, a breakthrough, or a shift in your life that leaves others asking, "How did this happen?" That is grace at work. God's power lifting you above what you could accomplish on your own. Grace also operates in timing. While human effort is measured by deadlines, schedules, and urgency, grace works in God's perfect timing, often catching you off guard. You may have worked diligently, prayed persistently, and prepared tirelessly, yet nothing seems to change. This is when grace is quietly arranging circumstances, people, and opportunities to align perfectly with God's plan. It is not your effort alone that moves mountains. It is God's favor activating in your life, bridging the gap between what you can do and what you are destined to achieve. Another important aspect of grace is that it builds confidence in God rather than self-reliance. When promotion, blessing, or breakthrough arrives through grace, it reminds you that your life is not dependent on your performance, but on God's provision. You realize that he equips the called, strengthens the weak, and makes the impossible possible. The beauty of grace is that it elevates the humble, strengthens the faithful, and places the unqualified in positions of influence. Your hard work is important because it positions you, but it is grace that transforms positioning into promotion, preparation into opportunity, and potential into purpose. When you embrace God's grace, you begin to understand that your life is not limited by your skills, experience, or past failures. You are lifted by a power greater than yourself, elevated into a destiny you could never earn, and placed in spaces that make the world take notice. Grace does not just meet you where you are. It propels you to where you belong, even if you never thought you were qualified to get there. Every trial, every setback, and every season of waiting has a purpose that often goes unseen in the moment. God does not waste your pain. He uses it to prepare you for the promotion, assignment, or blessing that is coming. Life has a way of testing our patience, stretching our faith, and refining our character. It's in the crucible of struggle that resilience is built, humility is cultivated, and wisdom is developed. Many people run from pain or try to avoid it, but God often allows challenges to shape the vessel that will carry his favor. Your struggles are not punishments. They are divine training grounds. Consider Joseph, who was sold into slavery and later thrown into prison for a crime he did not commit. Each hardship could have crushed his spirit, yet God used those experiences to equip him with the integrity, patience, and discernment necessary to govern a nation. Without those painful seasons, he would not have been prepared for the responsibility he was eventually given. The same principle applies to your life. Every heartbreak, disappointment, or failure has been laying the foundation for a level of influence, leadership, or blessing that requires strength of character. God knows that the higher he is going to lift you, the more resilient and mature you need to be to handle it. Your pain is doing what instant success never could. It is teaching you to depend on God, to trust in his timing, and to value the journey more than the destination. Often when people see someone elevated suddenly, they think it happened overnight. They don't see the years of preparation behind the scenes, the nights spent praying, the tears shed in silence, the lessons learned through adversity. God's timing is perfect, and the struggles you face are his way of readying you for the moment when promotion comes. Every challenge you endure becomes a testimony, a proof that God's methods are intentional. He shapes your heart so that when you step into new responsibilities, you lead with wisdom, empathy, and understanding. The people you will influence, the opportunities you will receive, and the impact you will make are all connected to the lessons learned in seasons of pain. So do not despise your struggles. Do not resent the seasons of waiting or the moments when life seems unfair. Instead, embrace them, knowing that God is refining you for a purpose far beyond what you can see. The pain you feel today is the preparation for the platform you will stand on tomorrow. And when God lifts you, every wound, every trial, and every tear will serve as a testimony that he equips the called, strengthens the weary, and raises the faithful into places they could never have reached on their own. When God decides to elevate someone, it is not based on human opinion, approval, or validation. It is based on his divine purpose. Elevation by God is undeniable, unstoppable, and unmistakably his. People may question your promotion, doubt your abilities, or even try to diminish your achievements, but when God places you in a position, no one can legitimately challenge it. Human recognition is fleeting and limited, but God's authority transcends all of that. Think about Esther. She was an ordinary young woman, an orphan living in a foreign land, seemingly powerless and overlooked. Yet God elevated her to the position of queen at the exact moment her nation needed her courage and influence. When that promotion came, it was not subject to human scrutiny. It was God's doing, and it carried divine authority. The same principle applies to your life. When God lifts you, the elevation is not just a reward. It is a declaration of his purpose. People may not understand how it happened, or why you were chosen, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that God's plan cannot be thwarted by opinions, circumstances, or opposition. Divine elevation is also a matter of timing. You may have worked, prayed, and prepared for years without visible results. You may have faced criticism, rejection, and setbacks, but God knows exactly when to release your promotion. When he does, it comes suddenly, powerfully, and unmistakably, leaving no doubt that it is his work. Another key aspect of God's elevation is that it validates your faithfulness. When you have been faithful in the small things, in the unseen moments, and in seasons where no one else was watching, God rewards that faithfulness by placing you in positions of influence. Your elevation becomes a testimony, not to your effort alone, but to God's faithfulness, timing, and sovereignty. Often when people see others promoted by God, they are quick to assume luck, coincidence, or favoritism. But divine elevation carries a signature that cannot be replicated. It is strategic, purposeful, and always aligned with God's greater plan. It may feel overwhelming, unexpected, or even intimidating, but that is because God is doing something far beyond your imagination. He is not just giving you a new title, a new platform, or a new position. He is positioning you to fulfill your purpose, impact lives, and reveal his glory through you. This is why you must embrace the elevation with humility, gratitude, and obedience. When God lifts you, your life becomes a testimony that faithfulness is rewarded, that purpose supersedes human qualification, and that no one can question what God has ordained. So do not seek validation from people. Do not be shaken by doubt or criticism. Stand firm in the knowledge that when God elevates you, it is undeniable, unshakable, and unmistakably His work. Your promotion is not a product of chance. It is a manifestation of divine authority, and it will open doors, create opportunities, and impact generations in ways you cannot yet fully comprehend.